Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Nine Inch Nails tickets are gone, but don't worry, we'll have more. So keep listening. Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Time for Case's movie reviews.
For Christ's sake, tomorrow's the 4th of July, and we will be open for business.
What country you from? What ain't no country I ever heard of? They speak English and what?
Utah. Give me 2.
Do you enjoy pain?
Pain don't hurt.
Wax on, right hand. Wax off, left hand.
Now fry like bacon, you little freshman piggies. Fry! Fry!
Playing football in West Canaan may have been the opportunity of your lifetime, but I don't want your life.
So I think it was Bob from Addison last week, because of Bob Uecker passing away, to recommend watching Major League. And thank you, Bob and Addison. Everybody in Addison is listening clearly, and hopefully everybody else on Case. A 25-year-old guy reviewing a 35-year-old movie?
1987, so you do the math.
Wow. That's a lot. Dang, that's a lot. So Major League, of course, starring Tom Berenger, Wesley Snipes, Charlie Sheen, a star-studded list, a hilarious movie that, of course, Bob Uecker's, his lines, people just, just a bit outside would quote that.
So funny it is.
Oh, they'd quote his lines, not even know the movie sometimes. But let's start out, we always start by playing the trailer from 1987, Major League.
We'd love for you to come to spring training for a shot at this year's club.
Not sure I can make it by then.
It's Wild Thing Vaughn's first season on the outside.
What league you been playing in?
California Penal.
And he's still a little wild.
Just a bit outside.
These things make me look ridiculous.
Seeing's the most important thing, son. I don't think it's that important.
Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen. Major League. Rated R.
That sounds like it was from 1927.
A little bit.
Not 1987.
A little bit.
Wow. Okay, Case. So you've now seen this movie. I can't imagine you can tear this movie apart in any way. It was just a hilarious, fun movie.
One of the most disappointing movies that I have watched for this segment.
What?
I have to leave.
Here, hold on. I understand that sometimes I draw the ire of people. They're not always a huge fan of what I have to say. I'm going to be reasoned and well explained.
Well, I doubt it, but go ahead.
And why I wanted to love this movie, because we haven't done, over the last year, I've watched a lot of dramatic classics, heist movies, horror movies. We haven't done a lot of comedies. I think the only hard comedy we did was Naked Gun when O.J. Simpson died, because obviously we did that.
Well, we had to honor his
complicated legacy.
Complicated legacy, yeah.
We had to honor that.
I don't think we should get into it right now.
So I was excited because comedic movies are the one thing that I feel like, okay, I've seen a good chunk of these. I grew up on the Judd Apatow movies in the 2000s. I love a good comedy. That's the genre that I feel comfortable in. This movie doesn't know what it wants to be. It's like divided into thirds, where the first third of the movie is awesome because it's almost a little bit like Naked Gun baseball. There's so much great physical comedy. You get introduced into all of these great characters. You have Charlie Sheen, you have Wesley Snipes, you have the manager who sounds like he smokes 100 packs of cigarettes a day.
He's awesome.
You have the rich owner who wants to move the team to Miami. It's not only great character work in the sense that you have all these great characters who I'm like, I'm going to spend the whole movie with these guys. This is awesome. But also, the movie is super, super funny. All of the spring training stuff where the team is bad at baseball, I was hooked at that point. I was like, this is going to be a movie that I'm going to love.
Okay, this review sounds great then so far.
What the hell happened?
Yeah.
So the second third of this movie, it dips into this romantic comedy storyline.
Wait, you love rom-coms.
I am a romantic at heart.
How dare you?
This is a bad plot. Remind me of the actor's name. The guy that plays Jake Taylor.
Tom Berenger.
I want to say Tom Bergeron. I knew that wasn't it. Tom Berenger.
Handsome.
Rene Russo. Pretty.
Beautiful. How dare you?
As I've talked about women of the 80s.
Lynn is great. You don't like Lynn?
I don't. Those characters are the worst characters in the movie. Their relationship is disturbing because Tom, the actor, Jake Taylor, the character, he stalks her for this entire movie. They're at the same restaurant. He gives her a creepy phone call, Zero Riz. He shows up.
Listen, that's called game. That's not stalking.
It was not game. He shows up at her fiance's house while he's having a party and invites himself in. Deranged behavior.
That was
I
a little...
love that kind of stuff. This is why I end up in the relationships I end up in. I'm like, oh my God.
He follows...
Kenzie loves being hunted.
I do. And it's like, it draws in the wrong kind of people. But boy, do I like being over-pursued, which ends up being scary.
At one point, he follows her home. He does it in the bullpen cart, which is the cart shaped like a Cleveland Indians baseball helmet.
That was fun.
It's awesome. It's the only redeeming part of that entire storyline arc is seeing the bullpen cart go down a street with other cars. That was great. They are lifeless. They are uninspired. It is so boring, and you have to sit through so much of that. And then the third part of the movie, which is the Indians-Yankees series, it's just a sports movie at that point. There's nothing particularly.
You love sports,
but sports movies. I struggled with Rudy up until the very end. I was so disappointed. I thought this was going to be this really, really funny movie because the characters are so great, and it just doesn't get there. I wanted this movie to be like Tom and Jerry with the owner and the Indians, with her trying to make the team worse as things go on. I can't believe there wasn't a scene in this movie where they hit the trade deadline, because once they start playing well, she should start to trade away the players that are playing well. They should get even.
It's not a movie about the Sox.
Oh, wow.
That wasn't nice.
Well, I'm just saying.
They should get worse in theory, but get better in execution. I just feel like we got introduced to all these characters in the beginning, Charlie Sheen and Wesley Snipes and the owner, and we don't really get enough time with them.
But you hate long movies. There was a lot in there that they gave you that was
cut out the rom-com stuff. It was unnecessary.
But then that gave you the emotional ending that when he got the win and Rene Russo's in the crowd, she dumps the douchebag boyfriend to come back to the guy she loved in the beginning.
Lame scene. They won the American League pennant, not the World Series. Get your ass back in your seat, okay?
That was an incredible. You could take that third, as you call it, in thirds, and I think you're right. It is kind of 3, 3, and 3. The last third is an incredible sports movie in its own. The build-up when Tom Berenger points out and then he points again. Not you, a D3 prospect, didn't appreciate that?
Speaking of D3 prospects, so I started doing some research after I watched this movie, because my relationship with Charlie Sheen, you have to remember, I'm 25. I only know Charlie Sheen as a crazy person. And I didn't watch 2.5 Men, so I don't know if other than he's in Ferris Bueller for like a second, I don't know if I've ever actually seen Charlie Sheen in anything before.
First off, all you need to know about Charlie Sheen is how incredible his interviews are.
Yeah, well, that's the only thing I know about him. So
he only knows the Tiger Blood interview. That's all you know.
It's the best interview. I loved him the second I saw it. Ooh, drugs in the house. Everyone's gonna die.
He doesn't know Young Guns, Charlie Sheen, Platoon, Charlie Sheen. You don't know all the greatness he's done.
No, I
Wall Street.
I only know him as a crazy guy. So I did some research, and I found out that Charlie Sheen was like a standout high school baseball player who wanted to play collegiate baseball. Things happened in his life. It didn't work out. But he was the one guy of the actors in this movie. It turns out Wesley Snipes, horrible athlete, terrible baseball player, didn't know how to throw a baseball, couldn't hit, wasn't actually that fast. Charlie Sheen, though, had a rocket for an arm, but Charlie Sheen wasn't happy with his own performance, his own fastball in this movie. So while they were filming, he started taking steroids during the filming of Major League so that he would become a better baseball player.
I didn't know that. That tracks.
That's
Method
incredible.
acting.
Yes. That's incredible. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
I mean, it's in hindsight on brand. It makes sense, right?
Well, of course, that leads to the scene with Bob Uecker while you watch this movie when Charlie Sheen is pitching and they're going like not just a little outside.
Vaughn into the windup in his first offering, just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed. Ball 4, ball 8. Low, and Vaughn has walked the bases loaded on 12 straight pitches.
Oh, so good.
So even with that great Bob Uecker stuff, that was very funny. Again, I thought Charlie Sheen's character was awesome. I thought Wesley Snipes was super entertaining in this movie. I loved the manager. I feel like they wrote half of a movie, and every time I started to get into something, they would completely change the structure of it. They would change the tone of it. This is, in theory, a funny movie. But, man, I wanted it to be better. I was left so disappointed by Major League.
That's disappointing to hear, actually.
It is.
By the way, Jason checked in and said you get more with those characters in Major League 2.
Okay, well, I'm not doing Major League 2 next week.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I guess you damn well will.
We're going to do Groundhog's Day next week with Bill Murray because I've never seen that before. Next Sunday is, of course, Groundhog's Day. So,
okay.
So we'll do that next week. But I think it's time for me to give a rating for Major League.
What are you going to rate on this one?
Baseballs.
Oh, okay. I just thought to make something more creative. How about chickens for Jobu?
We don't have time to break down everything wrong with that character. We don't have time to address the amount of people in this movie wearing Native American headdresses.
If you don't help Jobu, then F you.
We don't have time to talk about Bob Uecker whenever there's a home run saying that ball was, quote, hit off the reservation. We don't have time for any of that.
All right, give me the rating.
5 baseballs out of 10. I wanted to like this movie, but man, did it disappoint me.
There you go. Case's movie reviews every Friday at 8 o'clock. Watches a movie he's never seen, but we all have.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.